Good evening. I'm going to call the October business meeting into session. Statement of adequate notice by Board President pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10-4-10. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising such notice in the Home News Tribune, the Asbury Park Press, the Board Office, the schools, and on Cablevision Channel 118 and Verizon Vios 24, and by filing such notice with the Township Clerk. This meeting was scheduled for October 16, 2018. The Board will take formal action on payment of bills and other agenda items.
The Old Bridge Township Board of Education acknowledges that the law of this state establishes that members of the public, including members of the board, have the right to record public board meetings using audio or video recording devices, provided that that act of recording does not interfere with the business of this public board meeting. Therefore, the board makes it known that any such recording is to be considered the private recording of the individual and in no manner represents the official record of this board. The board therefore takes no responsibility for such private recording and completely disavows any future use.
Thank you, Mr. Mara. Roll call, please.
Callie,
Present.
DeCaro,
Present.
DePrima,
Here.
Dinoff,
Present.
Lent,
Present.
Reed,
Present.
Singh, Silikowski, Dunn.
Here.
Quorum exists.
Thank you, Mr. Mara. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a quick note, this evening, board members, Mr. Singh and Mr. Solkowski are missing. They both have some issues that they had to attend to at home, so they gave us notice that they wouldn't to attend. Code of Ethics Corner this month, highlights of the month. I believe Board Member DePrima was
That's
going
me.
to read that.
The board member will vote to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendation of the Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you, Mr. DePrima. As you can see, we have published our district goals for 2018-2019 and also board goals for 2018 and 2019 school year. Mr. Mara, approval of minutes. May I have a motion, please?
DeCaro, a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Can I have a second?
Callie will second.
Thank you, Ms. Callie. Any concerns, revisions, or updates to the minutes? Not see any. Roll call, Mr. Mara.
Callie,
Yes.
DeCaro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dinoff,
Abstain.
Lent,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Resolution number 1 passes.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Mara. Moving forward, report of the student representative to the board, Dylan Nowinski. Sir, it's
How are you
yours.
guys? We just had our annual Pink Out and our tailgate, raised $600 alone, and a bunch of local businesses donated, like DeMarco's in Aberdeen, Philly Pretzel in Old Bridge, Tuscany, Friendlies, and Sweet Charlie's ran a proceeds fundraiser for us and also donated. We have our homecoming this week and our homecoming game, and our RTC just started their annual can drive. The German exchange students came to Old Bridge, and their last day's on Friday. And the new club, We Dined Together, just hosted a transfer student breakfast where we invited all the new students from Old Bridge that transferred from other schools to attend. And that's it for October.
Very well. Thank you, Dylan. Much
Of course.
appreciated. A lot of good things happening at the high school level, as you know. And this past week, we had an incredible crowd of 5,000 plus at Lombardi Field for Pink Out. It was an
It was
extraordinary event. And this coming week is homecoming. So look for your report for the homecoming at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Very well. Tonight, we have removed recognition. Unfortunately, that had to be postponed into a later date. Superintendent's report, Mr. Sedadino.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Old Bridge School District has successfully completed its first Family Fall Fest. The three-day event featured quality family events centered around amusement rides, games, foods, concerts, live entertainment, and community-based trunk or treat. The festival was well attended by families from across our great community. The Family Fall Fest took in excess of $23,000 in sales and sponsorship, and once all of the costs are deducted, the proceeds will benefit our students through grants, PTA donations, club contributions, and scholarship. For me, the true reward was seeing the smiles on children as they walked hand in hand with their parents, grandparents, and guardians. I want to thank the first responders of Old Bridge who volunteered their time. Thank you to all our other sponsors, the staff, parents, and student volunteers like the language clubs, honor societies, Air Force Junior ROTC, Red Cross Club, and PEER. The commitment from our administrative and supervisory teams must be commended. Our board and community members, Sal DePrima, Rich DeCaro, Rich Dunn, Joe Cali, Kelly Alice Foster, Donna Andriani, and Anthony Costantino of St. Ambrose went well above and beyond this event to make it possible through donations and volunteerism. And lastly, I want to thank and compliment Kim Castaigne for her dedication to ensuring that Family Fall Fest 2018 was a tremendous success. On another note, mold concerns continue to impact our schools across the state of New Jersey, and in Old Bridge we are no exception. The rainy and damp climate since July has definitely been historical. Do I have proof of this? Well, I know it's true because I haven't turned on my sprinklers since July, and my lawn has never looked better. Usually in August, New Jersey is marked by burnt lawns across the region. I don't think anybody saw anybody with burnt lawns this year. It's because we had so much rain. The district is now working on a remedy for the problem in the new wing at Madison Park School. The immense rainfall in the region has caused a slab under the building's 2003 constructed wing to be saturated. The saturation is causing water seepage into the floors of the wing. The district, we are working with engineers, contractors, hygienists, attorneys to resolve this issue now and going forward. I want to thank everyone for their patience and understanding as we work to ensure that our students and staff have a healthy environment to report to every day. All other mold concerns in the district have concluded with acceptable air quality assessments. In our progress towards goals, it's going to be a little different this month. I'm going to review our progress towards goals, and as has been one of our board goals is to recognize the diversity of our community. It'll then be translated in Gujarati from our own Ms. Keeler from the dais. So I will present it to you in my native tongue, and she will then translate. Progress towards goals. I want to clarify something in reference to the attendance policy 5200. As the board has received information on it from concerned parents and so forth. First, the policy has not changed. It is the New Jersey Department's regulations that has changed and directly influenced our own attendance regulations. The New Jersey Department of Education has determined that any child absent from school 10% of the 180 school years is chronically absent and is thus deprived of a thorough education for that particular school year. The state has set the following guidelines for which the board is compelled to follow. There are only 5 types of excused absences from school. Veterans Day if school is in session, 3 college visits during your 11th or 12th grade career, bring your child to work day, a state-approved religious holiday, and if transportation is canceled by your child's sending district. We're not a receiving district, so that really does not impact our students. Students have 17 days to be absent in a school year before being listed as chronically absent. Those 17 days are inclusive of being sick, whether you go to the physician or not, death in family, suspension, or family events. Students with extended illness and chronic illness will receive home instruction, and they're not considered absent, and they're not marked as absent. Any extenuating circumstances are subject to an appeal. And this part you don't have to translate because I didn't really give this to you, but I just want people to understand that the policy hasn't changed, and the number of dates hasn't changed. What has changed is the state's view on what's an excused or not excused absence. So what used to happen in the past, especially at the high school, to get credit for a course, you had to be there. You couldn't be absent more than 17 times. But if you brought in a doctor's note for 5 days of absence, whether you had strep throat, whether you had a cold, whether you had chicken pox or whatever, it would eliminate those absences and you'd still have 17 days. Now, the part doesn't make, what are those 17 days for if they're not for illness? If not for illness, in a 180-day school year, what are you saving the other 17 days for? Now, I know families, and I'm not against families taking vacation, and maybe you have a wedding out of town, and you have to take your child with you, and you maybe miss a day or two here, 3 days. Maybe even you go to Disney. I know some families do that. That's 5 days. Maybe you're absent another 7 days for being sick, whether you go to the doctor or not. And the practice of going to the doctor in itself, there's some bias in that, because not all families have the wherewithal to have the ability to go to the doctor for every time their child's sick. Some parents do not have health care. So do we only say it's excused because you can afford health care when your child has a fever and you go to the doctor? And if you don't have it and you're going to provide your child with Tylenol and everything else to reduce the fever, and once the fever's gone, send back to school, say, well, they're better and would come back to school, but your absences aren't excused, but someone else's are. I think everyone has to understand, we're not taking a hard line on this because we want to be difficult. We're taking a hard line on this because it's the state's directive, and we want to ensure your child has an education. If at the end of it, your child is sick and there's something medically going on that is chronic, we're going to appeal it ourselves. We're going to look at it. We're not looking to penalize any child who's been sick and compound that with the stress of everything going on with that. We will review it in a fair manner. But we just can't say that we're going to excuse you when you're sick and then give you 17 free days to take off during the school year to move on with the year. So that's basically the summary of it. I'll let Ms. Keeler translate it, and then if there's any questions on that matter, we'll deal with those now.
હું ગુજરાતીમાં વાત કરવાની કોશિશ કરવાની છું આ ટ્રાન્સલેશન આપણું અટેન્ડન્સ પોલિસી માટે ન્યૂજર્સીના એજ્યુકેશન ડિપાર્ટમેન્ટે સારી સ્કૂલ્સમાં આ રૂલ્સ મોકલાવ્યા છે જે સારી સ્કૂલ્સને માનવા પડશે આ પોલિસીનો નંબર છે 5200 ઓવરબ્રિજની પોલિસી નથી બદલી આ બચ્ચાઓને સ્કૂલમાં કમમાં કમ 1 વર્ષમાં કેટલા દિવસ આવવું જોઈએ તેના માટે છે 180 દિવસ સ્કૂલ્સ ચાલુ હોય તેમાં 10% વધારે દિવસ સ્કૂલમાં નહીં હોય તો તે બચ્ચાઓ આખું વર્ષનું નહીં હોય તેમ ગણાશે નીચે આપેલા 5 ચીજ માફ થશે 1 વેટરન્સનો દિવસ જો સ્કૂલ ચાલુ હોય તો તે દિવસ માફ કરશે 2 તમારા બચ્ચાઓ જો 11 કે 12મા વર્ગમાં હોય તો કોલેજ જવા માટે 3 દિવસ માફ થશે 3 બચ્ચાને તમારી સાથે કામ પર લઈ જવાનો દિવસ હોય તો તે દિવસ માફ થશે 4 આપણા ન્યૂજર્સી સ્ટેટ એ રજાનો દિવસ આપ્યો હોય તો તે બી દિવસ માફ થશે ને 5 સ્કૂલ બસ કોઈ દિવસ નહીં આવે બચ્ચાને લેવા તો તે દિવસ બી માફ થશે 17 દિવસથી વધુ દિવસ બચ્ચાઓ સ્કૂલમાં નહીં આવે તો માફ નહીં થશે આ 17 દિવસમાં બચ્ચાઓ સિક હોય કૂતામાં કંઈ બી બુરું થયું હોય તે બી ગણાશે તે બી માફ નહીં થશે જો બચ્ચાઓ વધુ સિક હોય અથવા ગેરમાસિકતા હોય તે નહીં ગણાશે તે માફ થશે બીજી ચીજને માટે તમને લખવામાં પૂછવું પડશે ને અપીલ કરવું પડશે લખવામાં થેન્ક યુ
Thank you very much, Ms. Keeler. So we can go out of order a little bit. Can we just ask if any parents have questions or anybody from the audience has questions as far as the attendance policy? Absolutely. Just step to the dais and just state your name and...
Hi, my name is Dr. Ujwal Dada. My daughters are in Sandburg, 8th grade. We have a petition that I don't know if you received through change.org. Over 500 concerned parents about this attendance policy. I respect the fact that Old Bridge is trying to lower the truancy rate, increase the attendance-ship. But what our concern is allowing a sick child to go to school and with impairing his or her health, and also if it's a contagious disease like a flu, spread the disease to fellow students. And not being considered as an excused absence for that to go to the doctor, which used to be the norm before, I think is a little bit unfair. I know the state has a policy which I guess different townships take it as a model and implement it their way, but we just find it very difficult to absorb the fact that what changed from what used to be the standing policy that children who are absent from medical, legitimate medical reasons can get those days excused if they have a doctor's note. I mean, I'm a physician myself. I mean, if somebody comes in and say, I went to a football game, give me a note, I'm not going to give it. No doctor would give a note like that unless, he or she, the student, has legitimate reasons for being absent and being in the doctor's office and being away from school. Even like, sometimes, parents get picked up, get their child picked up early to go to a doctor's appointment, and then they get dropped off. Now the rule is, you have to stay at least till 12 in the morning to get full credit if this child has to miss the rest of the day for a doctor's appointment and whatnot. Sometimes it's difficult to get doctor's appointment, after school or on weekends and things like that. So, that is the concern, and also the fact that the excused portion of it is being taken away. I understand you're saying it's not a punishment, we're not being hard, but it's just unfair as a health concern for that particular sick child and to his or her classmates. So this is where, I as a parent, and I don't know if there are other members in this audience today have concern, but we started a petition, and if you take a look at it, over 500 concerned parents have voiced their opinion. So that's why we respectfully submit it to your attention. Thank you.
And just to comment on it, because nowhere in our policy are we are trying to convey to parents to bring your child to school sick, or if you're not sure if they're sick, by all means, keep them home. But if going along that argument, that is what a parent would do, so let's say that a child had strep throat and stayed out of school for 4 days and brought in a note, and they're only absent for those 4 days. So what we've done in the past is then say, okay, now you still have 17 days of absence for various reasons. What are we saving those 17 days for if these dates were used for sickness? If our true mission is to educate children, we said that you're sick, we acknowledge that you're sick, now we're just wiping out those days. What are the other 17 days for? The vacation days are built into their schedule, so it's not vacation days. If there's something, again, the tragic comes up and you have an immense amount of, days of death in family or something like that, or a serious illness, again, it'll be addressed during the appeal process. But I don't think it doesn't even send the right message to say that beyond being sick, you have 17 days just to miss school. And that's basically what the practice has been in the past, that aside from just being sick, you can be absent for 17 days and still get credit for the course, as we had done in the past. Okay, you can go up, sir. And while you're going up, I'll just, and I know it's been, put out there like every employee of the Board of Education. They get 10 sick days. I don't ask them for their excuse to whether it's doctor or not a doctor, unless there's an extenuating circumstance, can be out for a long time. Some go to the doctor when they're sick, some don't. We're doing the same thing with students, except we're giving you 17 of those days, and we don't need to see the doctor's note. If you want to bring it in, it's fine, but it's still one of your 17 days.
Good evening. My name is Sudeep Dagarse. I'm a resident of Old Bridge, living at 44 Carlisle Court. I have a daughter in Sandburgs and Shira. So, as you mentioned, Mr. Superintendent, that this policy has not changed, right? But what I remember in when I used to see parent portal and report card, and when my kids were absent, it used to say excused when they were sick, right? Now it is being non-excused. So I'm not sure like how you are saying that it is not changed, right? And that's one thing. The second thing is if it is a state policy, right, then why every other township have not implemented this? I just browsed through randomly some other district website, look into their attendance policy. I didn't find this. I went to Edison, I went to South Brunswick, look at their policy, and it specifically says the sick days are excused there. So either they have not implemented, and that is just the Old Bridge Township District, they are in such a hurry to implement that policy. I don't know. And if it is a state policy, I would like to know, right, what is the board's view or your view regarding this policy? And another thing is you are talking about like there are 17 days available and then whatnot. One thing I would like to say is by categorizing this days as a non-excused, it is stressful for the kid. You my example, just go. My my kids were sick, and I asked my elder daughter to stay home. She refused. No, I want to go home, go to school. I don't want to miss it, right? What risk is I am taking and she is taking is she is spreading that sickness to other people, right? My other daughter was also sick, but she is young, and I convinced her to stay home. But I couldn't convince my elder daughter, right? And I'm not sure if you have read the comments about some parents in that petition, right? There are some parents with the compromised immune, their kids with the compromised immune system. If a sick child come to a school, right, you are putting those kids' life in danger. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't, again, I'm not, and we're not condoning that sick children come to school. And if your child is legitimately sick, then unless they were in excess or at the 17th day, there'd be no reason for them to even be stressed about coming to school or not. You know, and the other point I made is that if your child was sick and had the ability to go to the doctor and had, you know, a fever or whatever was the malady, and another child in the district whose parents didn't have insurance had the same fever and they couldn't go to the doctor, is their fever any less legitimate than your child's? Is their day to take off from school any less legitimate than your child's? Again, you can answer. I just don't. I don't feel that it is. And we're not, again, asking anyone to bring their child to school sick. And if someone has an impaired immune system and it is documented through our district, then that would already be in their 504 plan and something that's addressed outside the attendance.
Mr. Cittadino, can I just add something here? We had, just at the elementary alone, over 400 students who were chronically absent last year. And when we looked at this, at the data, and looked at the number of students that we do have chronically absent, we looked at what do we do to help those children. Because we recognize that when we have students that have extended absences, whether it's because they're ill or because they're taking days off and they shouldn't be, or whatever the reasons are, it becomes difficult for them to re-enter the school after a lengthy absence. So we looked at what do we do to prevent the absences? How do we communicate with the parents who might be struggling getting their children to school? What do we do when we have children that are out to help them re-enter? And how do we ensure that whatever they've missed, they can make up? so that we're not waiting until the end of the year and then we say, well, we have someone who has 30, 40 absences, how do we catch up at that point? We have teams in each building that are looking at attendance on a daily, weekly basis. They are reaching out to parents when students are out 4, 5, 10, 15 days. We are scheduling meetings with parents. We are scheduling meetings with the staff members, other team members in the building that work with the children. We are setting up opportunities for the students to have support when they come back. These are the things that we're focusing on because we're concerned mostly about the instruction. We don't want them to come into school when they're sick. We understand that sometimes they might be out. My daughter was out 4 days last week, and it took us, or 2 weeks ago, it took us 2 weeks to catch up on the work that she missed. It was a lot, but there was a support system in place when she returned to get caught up. We're looking to make sure that those things are in place so that they can get well and come back. But we also want parents to think about, why are you keeping your children home? Is it because they're sick, or are there other reasons too that maybe we can look at other, taking care of things outside of the school day, thinking twice about scheduling a doctor's appointment during the day if you don't have to. Again, I have children, I know you can't always get those appointments after school, but thinking, can we get them in the morning and bring them in after? Don't keep them home the whole day. Those are things, and those are conversations that are taking place now with these teams that are reaching out to the parents. And the teams are comprised of the teachers, the nurses, the principals, the counselors, people that are working to ensure that we provide the instruction to the children and that they are present for as many days as we can possibly have them here, and that they're also on time. We're looking at, children who arrive late as well. That's where we're going with this.
I think to Dr. Hoker's point, of the 400 elementary students, I think I know for a fact that the majority were absent 30 or more times.
Hi, sorry again to rebut. We understand that if you have one excuse day, there's 17 days that are left over. Nobody plans for life, okay? Life goes on, things happen. It just gives an undue stress on the parent as well as the sick child to force themselves to go to school because of the fear that this is not going to be considered, an excused absence. Like I said, nobody plans for life. God forbid that particular school year, the child has to take off she falls sick, something happens in the family, death in the family, anything. Then, 17 days, can pass by really quick if something really bad happens. So if a child that is sick, let's say flu or whatnot, not for, I didn't complete my homework, I'm going to feign sickness, not that kind of a thing. We as parents also don't encourage that. But, a child who's legitimately sick and has to stay off to rest or to avoid spreading a contagious disease like the flu, if those days are not, excused, and if for that particular school year, if that child needs to have more days off for whatever reason, then it puts an undue stress on the parent and the child that at the end of the year, oh my God, what's going to happen? I have to appeal. What if the appeal is not going to be upheld? It just puts an extra stress on everybody concerned. So that is where we come in, that if it is an excused medical absence, it should be considered as an excused and not, they don't have to dip into that 17 extra days to fall back on if something, were to happen. So nobody plans for life. So that's what I'm saying. If it has been the policy of the school district to have, excused days as excused, sick days as excused, what changed and why aren't other school districts not implementing them? I mean, I personally looked at, North Brunswick, South Brunswick, Edison, Homedale. As far as I can tell you with certainty that they have not implemented what Old Bridge has implemented.
Just speaking, if I may, Mr. President, from the legal perspective, We can't speak for South Brunswick and South Amboy and Holmdel, but we can speak for what we are told by the state, because the state tells us things all the time, and most of what the state tells us is mandatory. What has changed between an excused sick day being an excused absence, or a legitimate sick day being an excused absence, and not being an excused absence, is Chapter 6A, 16 of the Department of Education regulations. It was changed. Those changes were pushed down on all the school districts, and then the Department of Education announced that student attendance is going to be an area of primary focus statewide, starting with this school year. So it is no different than if the state decided, or if the county decided to change the speed limit on Route 516. We will abide by that. We will recognize the jurisdiction of something above us, in this case, the Department of Ed. 17 days is 3.5 weeks off, which is an enormous amount of time. As far as special needs, you made a great point there, and it's a really important one, but it's also one that Mr. Cittadino mentioned. The law and this revised regulation provide for an appeals process in extenuating circumstances. So if, God forbid, there's a tragedy in the immediate family, and that immediate family member happens to live in New Zealand, that is going to take the child out of school for a couple days. Connected with the reasonable amount of 4, 5, 6, 7 school days of sickness during the school year, that may push the child over 17, and you, as the responsible parent, might make an appeal. And the appeals, the principals and central office administrators would say, well, there were a couple sick days, and look at that, there was a tragedy in New Zealand. That would be the entire purpose of the appeals process. Special circumstances happen in every case, or in every, there's an exception to every rule, I should say. So when that happens, please bring it to the attention of your principal and to the district. But this is a state regulation. This is not an Old Bridge regulation. Keep looking at the other districts you mentioned. You'll see it pop up. It may not be there yesterday or today, but it will be there soon, or they will have their own problems with it, because it is a state of New Jersey initiative that this board didn't sit around and come up with, let's change the student attendance regulations. That was not an Old Bridge initiative, although Dr. Hoker is correct that the continuity of education is, of course, a priority. So that's the answer, not to point the finger at somebody else, but the state of New Jersey has mandated this change, and we will implement it, as we must.
May I?
Please.
I respect the fact that, if a child, continues to miss school, excused or not, it puts a burden on their education. They have to make up a lot of days. I get all of that. Now, for the state to implement that, is there a way we can appeal to the state then to reconsider their decision? Because this is not, we're saying, increase the amount of, summer holidays or whatnot. This is, something that nobody plans. And, for a child to be, put through that, if I understand, if the state made a policy and sooner or later all districts would pick it up and implement it, Old Bridge did it, that's fine. But if other districts have not yet done that, and you're saying that if the speed limit is, mandated by the state to be increased, they should be implemented right away. I mean, if the state says New Jersey Turnpike should be, 50 miles an hour, they just don't put sections of New Jersey Turnpike at 50 miles per hour and then increment it all throughout. It goes 50 miles per hour from, Cape May to God knows where it ends. So that's Garden State Parkway, sorry. So that's what I'm saying. So if a state initiates a policy, then all school districts at the beginning of a school year should implement it from day one, not that, okay, let's see if what they do versus what I do, and it takes its time to implement it. So that's where a little bit of a confusion arises with your explanation. And my last point, and I'm going to sit down, is if we can appeal to the state as concerned parents of this school district, and versus if other school districts start having similar concerns, is there something that we can appeal to the state and have them reconsider it or revisit that?
I can give you two answers. You'll like the first one. You can always write your letters and express your concerns to your elected officials at the state level, up to Governor Murphy and everyone between you and him. As far as formally appealing or contesting these changes to the state regulations, there was a public comment period, and there was probably a very small ad for that in NJ.com and in the local newspapers about 18 months ago. So the time, and that's why I said you'd like my first answer. The formal process is that there's a public comment period, but it appears to be a secret usually. So unfortunately, there was very little public comment on this, even though it is a sweeping change and it affects a lot of parents and guardians all over the state. So the answer is, can you formally appeal the issue? You cannot at this point. But you can certainly reach out to whomever you choose to express yourself on it.
Mr. Citadino, does it conclude the superintendent's report and progress towards the goals?
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. Okay, moving forward, Mr. Mara, any correspondence? Very well. Special committee reports, from my right to left? No? Yes. Yes. Okay, Ms. Callie.
I have the curriculum meeting report that Mr. Solikowski asked me to present in his absence. There was a curriculum meeting on September 26th. Administrators presented the numerous course curriculum revised and written this summer, including the K-5 health curriculum, a high school internship course, Business and Career 2, as well as the K-5 math curriculum and Applied Behavioral Analysis, ABA Autism curriculum. The K-12 health curriculum now addresses substance abuse prevention in all grade levels. The math curriculum was updated to align it with the newly adopted and implemented Pearson Envision series. The internship course fulfills a goal as outlined in the district's strategic action plan. Additional summer projects such as the development of model integrated performance assessments in world languages, as well as model K-5 NGSS science lessons were also discussed. Mrs. Washburn and Mr. Yanuzelli? Who served as directors of the inaugural Summer Camp Invention Program, presented highlights to the committee. The camp was staffed by Old Bridge teachers. Old Bridge High School students served as volunteer leadership interns and teachers' assistants. The camp involved 4 science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics, STEAM, modules, which involved critical thinking, problem-solving, innovation, and collaboration. The camp, which is planned to occur each summer, addresses in part the district's strategic action plan goal of infusing more STEAM education opportunities for students. Dr. Ferrara updated the committee on the steps taken since the last presentation in April, including staff development in May of last year, September, as well as planned staff support activities for October and November. Dr. Cascone discussed some of the challenges encountered early on and what steps are being taken to address them. Ms. Dougherty, secondary special education supervisor, presented this year's extended school year program, which underwent some changes and enhancements, including the introduction of related arts courses, such as art, music, and physical education, as well as theme days such as International Day, Field Day, and Science Day. The school day was also extended to 3.5 hours in response to parental feedback. Feedback collected from parents and teachers was highly positive. She also presented an update on the Effective School Solutions Program, which operated at the high school last year and this year at the GNC. ESS provides innovative clinical programs for districts seeking to reduce costs while increasing the quality of their in-district education for students with emotional and behavioral problems, and provides experienced clinical staff, proven programming, sound oversight, and a mature system of quality and risk management. Ms. Dougherty reported positive gains in attendance, discipline referrals, and GPA for those students participating in the program last year. Dr. Cascone added that a program like this is an additional and alternative means for addressing school safety, as it provides critical mental health services to at-risk youth, keeping them positively adjusted in their home schools and communities. Ms. Keeler provided the committee an update on the elementary drumline project. Facilitators Colin Bell and Anthony Good will travel to China next week, so I guess that already happened. They're back. With Ms. Keeler, who's obviously back, to finalize this exciting partnership with Chinese elementary drum programs. The dates for the Envisions Math Parent Information Session were shared. The flyers was attached for the committee members. I believe those nights, already took place. Okay, and lastly, due to a conflict with the New Jersey School Boards Association Annual Conference, the next meeting, which was scheduled for Wednesday, October 24th, was proposed for rescheduling by Mr. Silikowski to October 30th and agreed upon by the committee. The date will be shared with Mrs. Torrey for revision. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Cali. Appreciate you filling in for Mr. Sulikowski this evening. Mr. DePrima, do you have a report? Mr. Dinoff?
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. We held a District Technology Committee meeting on September 27th. The committee discussed a recap of summer projects completed by the Technology Department. These included repossession and refurbishment of 1,300 iPad 2s for auction, re-imaging of all laboratories, installation of Minecraft for education in all labs, readjustment of HP Stream distributions in carts to adjust to new enrollments throughout each classroom, inspection and reconnection of all classroom activities, including computers, interactive whiteboards, Apple TVs, printers, phones, and document cameras, and mealtime M-Power upgrades to all cafeteria computers to streamline transactions. Mrs. Moran expressed her gratitude to the technicians for all of their hard work. She also relayed thanks to the Board of Education for supporting the need for extra help during the summer months. The Old Bridge High School students hired to work and learn with our technicians provided the extra hands necessary to complete all tasks accurately and on a timely basis. Next, the committee discussed the Microsoft Technology Adoption Program. The district was invited to participate in this program directly by Microsoft. Invitations are highly selective and only made to entities which are committed to Microsoft products and who are recognized to be innovative leaders in their use. Mr. Yanizelli, Mr. Titmus, District Technology Integration Specialist, along with Mrs. Moran, engaged in twice-monthly conferences with Microsoft project leaders to provide feedback on their use, and Microsoft product team leaders provide us in exchange with 24/7 access to their support. As members of this program, students and staff get to try new Microsoft products before they are released to the general public. Overall, we are very happy to be a part of this program and are very grateful to the Microsoft product team leaders for their trust and support. We are excited about the advantages participation in this program will bring to our students and our staff. Microsoft Educator Community. Technology training is offered through the Old Bridge Professional Learning Academy, provided by our tech integration specialist through peer-to-peer support and through partnership with Microsoft. The district also has developed a partnership with the Bridgewater Commons Microsoft Store to provide free training to our teachers. In addition, training and learning paths are available online at the Microsoft Educator Community. Future Ready Schools, New Jersey. Congratulations to Memorial School on a wonderful accomplishment on being named a Future Ready New Jersey school. Representatives will accept the Future Ready School Award on October 23rd at the New Jersey School Boards Convention. The district will be represented during the award ceremony by Mr. Payton, Mrs. Knose, and Mr. Titmus, along with Mrs. Moran, Director of Technology. Mrs. Knose, computer literacy teacher at Memorial School and Future Ready Schools team leader, offered her experiences on prepping the application and submission. Our goal in moving forward is to develop a district template to provide a best practice checklist for our schools who wish to submit during the next school year cycle. Lastly, the committee discussed a data governance charter. Mrs. Moran provided a presentation on developing a data governance charter. She explained that such charter, as well as a defined data governance process, was a needed component of Future Ready school submissions. She also indicated that once drafted, the charter will be forwarded to the Board of Education for review and adoption. Its adoption will move our Future Ready school applications forward to higher levels in the data governance indicator. The next District Technology Committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, November 14th at 7 p.m. in the Administration Conference Room. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dinoff. Any other committee reports before we move forward? Not seeing any. Facilities use. That's on file at the business office. I'm going to open up the meeting to the hearing of residents on agenda items only. This is the time to speak about things that are published on the agenda, and I'm opening the meeting now. Going once, going twice, closed. Moving forward. Curriculum professional development. I need a motion for items 1 through 11, please.
Callie will move.
Thank you, Ms. Calick. May I have a second?
Lent will second.
Thank you, Ms. Lent. Any concern or conversation? Not seeing any. Roll call, Mr. Mara.
Dinoff?
Yes.
Lent?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Cali?
Yes.
DeCaro?
Yes.
DePrima?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 11 pass.
Terrific. Moving forward, athletics, item 1. May I have a motion, please? Thank you, Mr. Prima. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Lent. Any concerns, discussion, or conversation on athletics? Not seeing any. Roll call, Mr. Mara?
Lent,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Callie,
Yes.
DeCarro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dinoff,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Resolution 1 passes.
Very well. Moving forward, finance, items 1 through 15. May I have a motion to move finance?
Reed will motion.
Thank you,
Dinoff will
Mr.
second.
Reed. Thank you, Mr. Dinoff. Any concerns, discussion, or conversation? Not seeing any. Roll call, Mr. Mara?
Reed,
Yes.
Callie,
Yes.
DeCarro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dinoff,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 15 pass.
Wonderful. Moving forward, non-certificated personnel office. May I have a motion on item number 1, please?
Callie will move.
Thank you, Ms. Callie. May I have a second?
DeCarroll, second.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Do we have any concerns or conversation on item number 1? Not seeing any. Roll call, please.
Callie,
Yes.
DeCarro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dinoff,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Resolution 1 passes.
Very well. Moving forward, non-certificated personnel operational. Item number 1. May I have a motion, please?
Dinoff will move.
Thank you, Mr. Dinoff. May I have a
DeCarroll,
second?
second.
Thank you, Mr. Caro. Any concerns or conversation? Not seeing any. Roll call, Mr. Mara?
Callie,
Yes.
DeCarro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dinoff,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Resolution 1 passes.
Moving forward, non-certificated personnel, other, items 1 through 8. May I have a motion to move?
Callie will move.
Thank you, Ms. Callie. May I have a second?
DeCarroll, second.
Thank you, Mr. Caro. Any concerns or conversation or discussion on non-certificated personnel, other? Not seeing any. Roll call, Mr. Mara.
Callie,
Yes.
DeCarro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dinoff,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 8 pass.
Terrific. Thank you, Mr. Mara. Moving forward, certificated personnel, items 1 through 23. May I have a motion, please?
Reed will motion.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Can I have a second?
Lent will second.
Thank you, Ms. Lent. I noticed that we do have a retiree on the agenda this evening. Move the board to approve the retirement of the following staff member with deep appreciation for their years of dedicated service to the district. Roseanne Abrascato, guidance counselor at Carl Sandburg Middle School, 26 years of service, and I want to sincerely thank her for those years of service. Any discussion or concerns? Not seeing any. Roll call, Mr. Mara.
DeCarro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dinoff,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Callie,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Resolutions 1.
Fantastic. Mr. Mara, moving forward. Non-certificated personnel, transportation, items 1 through 3. May I have a motion, please?
DeCarroll, move.
Thank you, Mr. Caro. May I have a second?
Lent will second.
Thank you, Ms. Lent. Any concerns or conversation or discussion on non-certificated personnel transportation?
Yes, Mr. Dunn, we are administratively removing item number 1.
Okay, so we're administrative removing item number 1, so it's just going to be items 2 and 3 this evening. Any concerns, conversation, discussion? Not seeing any. Roll call on items 2 and 3, Mr. Mara.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dinoff,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Callie,
Yes.
DeCaro,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Resolutions 2 and 3.
Wonderful. Moving forward, supplies, equipment, and services. Items 1 and 2. May I have a motion, please?
DeCarroll, motion?
Thank you,
Dinoff
Mr.
will
Caro, and Mr. Dinoff will second. Thank you, sir. Any concern or discussion? Not seeing any. Roll call, Mr. Mara.
Dinoff,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Callie,
Yes.
DeCaro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 and
Wonderful. Moving forward, transportation, items 1 through 6. May I have a motion on transportation, please?
Callie will move.
Thank you, Ms. Callie. Can I have a second?
Lent will second?
Thank you, Ms. Lent. Any concerns, conversation, discussion on transportation? Not seeing any. Roll call, Mr. Mara.
Lent,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Callie,
Yes.
DeCaro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dinoff,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 6.
Very well. Moving forward, miscellaneous. Items 1 through 6. May I have a motion to move miscellaneous?
Callie will move.
Thank you, Ms. Callie.
Dinoff will second.
Dinoff, thank you, sir. Any concerns or conversation or discussion on miscellaneous? Not seeing any. Roll call, Mr. Mayor.
Reed,
Yes.
Callie,
Yes.
DeCaro,
Yes.
DePrima, Dinoff,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 6 pass.
Wonderful. Moving forward, Board Secretary, Board Business, there is nothing. So at this point, I'm going to open up the meeting to the hearing of the residents on any school district issues. This is the time to, speak and praise the school district, or if you have any concerns with the school district, we would like to hear them at this time on any matter. Well, I guess it's a good evening. I guess we're doing a good job if no one has anything negative or positive to say, so that's good news. All right, I'm going to close the hearing of the residents on any school district issue, and we're going to move to old business. Just want to make everyone aware that tomorrow night's meeting has been postponed and we will be rescheduled. The meeting had to do with the CSA and the board evaluation, and we're going to move that into November. Any other old business? New business? With that said, I'm going to open up for comment by the board on the order of good. If anyone would like to speak their mind before we end this meeting, please. I will start from my right side, Ms. DeCaro. Yes, I'm looking at you.
Okay, well, I just, first I want to talk about the Family Fun Fest, and what a great success it was for the first year that we had it. And great job to Kim Costain, who really worked tirelessly for a long time, got that together. Great job to the administration for supporting it and for all of their work also, and all of the people that volunteered. It was a great weekend, and the trunk or treat was fantastic. So many families came out, and it was a little hot, so I appreciate it next year if you made it a couple of degrees cooler. I know you were in charge of the weather, Mr. Cittadino, so a couple degrees cooler. But anyway, it was a really great and successful event, and I look forward to seeing it happen every year. And I also want to commend our administration for really dealing with the mold issues whenever they're arising. It's an ongoing battle with all the rain that we're having, but we're always on top of it, and everyone is doing a fantastic job. With regard to the attendance policy, I understand your concerns as parents. I think Mr. Cittadino and Dr. Hoker and Mr. Parton did explain the stance pretty well, and I hope that you guys are a little bit more comfortable with it. I know as parents we tend to get very nervous, I guess, about whenever there's any kind of a change in a policy. Having had 3 kids going through the system, all 3 of which had medical issues. You know, I had one son that had asthma. I had my oldest son he was hospitalized in 8th grade. He was hospitalized with pneumonia, and then his immune system was so compromised that he ended up getting mono. So he was out for a very long time. That being said, he ended up having home instruction. So regardless of whether there's excused, unexcused, you miss a certain amount of days, you need to have home instruction. So I feel like, you know, those are not the people that are being targeted in any way, shape, or form. There is absolutely no way that any of us want to see sick children go to school. Please keep your children home if they are sick, for their benefit, for the benefit of the rest of the students, for the rest of the school community. Please keep them home if they're sick, if they have a fever, if they have bronchitis. But you as parents, we all know when our children kind of maybe wake up and they don't feel like going to school that day, and, you know, we give it to, I mean, I did it myself. You know, they didn't miss too much school this year. Go ahead, stay in bed, you know. And that's okay, even if that happens once or twice. But what this policy, I believe, is really addressing is the chronic truancy issues. So please, by all means, if your child is sick, keep them home. And again, if it becomes an issue and those are valid issues, as Mr. Cittadino has addressed, at the end of the year, it will be addressed. No one is out to punish anyone for valid reasons. So hopefully tonight you've gotten more comfortable with the policy. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caro. Ms. Callie.
Okay, not to be redundant, but I want to congratulate Kim on a job very well done, tireless effort, and Mr. Cittadino and the rest of the administration for supporting her during that time. I know a lot of work went into that, and I was not able to attend much of it, but what I did attend was great, and everybody that I saw was having a great time. I wanted to, I know it's a little early, she's not leaving till January, but congratulate Mrs. Abrascato on her well-deserved retirement. And I did just want to say, to piggyback on what Mr. Caro said about the attendance policy, I don't think it can be stated enough that the policy is not to encourage anybody or to be mistaken to send your child to school sick. We don't want you to send your child to school sick. It's not good for them. It's not good for the rest of the school community, the rest of the students. And again, this is a state mandated policy, so we really don't have a choice, but from our side of the table, we have to address the chronic absenteeism. Like Mr. Cittadino explained, if you're out 4, 5, 6 times at 2 or 3 times, and it's for medical reasons, and that's all excused, then you still have 17 days to do what with? I mean, I had 2 kids who went through the school. I know, every once in a while, if they weren't absent hardly at all, they twisted my arm for mental health days. As a matter of fact, one of my high school seniors actually took a mental health day down the shore and was on Channel 7 Eyewitness News. So, but that's one day. Again, that's what I wanted to say. I'm sorry, I lost track of what I was saying. If your child is sick and you're taking the child to the doctor, even though those notes are no longer accepted at that particular moment by the school to make the absenteeism excused, keep your doctor's notes. I think, Mr. Cittadino, if you want to jump in here, I think you said this at one of the other meetings. If you're taking your child to the doctor, get the doctor's note, keep it in the file, because if your child does go above the 17 days, those notes will be part of your appeal process.
That is correct.
Okay. And that's actually all I had to say. Thank you.
No, you had the opportunity to speak when we had the a hearing of the residents.
You can talk to me afterwards.
Absolutely. See Mr. Cittadino afterwards, and he'll be more than happy to fill you in. Or any of the board members, they'll be more than happy to speak as well. Okay, moving forward, thank you, Ms. Callie. Mr. DePrima.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Yeah, just to piggyback on what everybody else has been saying, nobody's out to punish anybody. If you're, we are all parents, most of us are parents up here, and we've gone through the system also. If your child is sick, they stay home. As Mr. Cittadino said, really, like, what are the other 17 days for then? Of course, there could be an emergency, there could be a tragedy of some sort, but I think that's what the appeal process is for, and I'm sure and I'm confident that the right thing would be done if need be. So please feel comfortable going forward. On a lighter note, as everybody's thanking Mrs. Costain, I will thank her also for doing a great job. But everybody's forgetting one thing, one of the highlights of the festival. Oh, here we go. The pumpkin pie eating contest, and yours truly is the champion. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, that is, they're all over social media, unfortunately. And on a lighter, serious note, I just want, on a personal note, and I think on behalf of the board, I'd like to say congratulations and good luck to Mrs. Callie. Next time we see her, she will be a mother-in-law. Congratulations and good luck to Lisa.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very well, thank you, Mr. Prima. Mr. Dinoff.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dunn. I would like to echo my colleagues and also thank everyone for their tireless effort in planning the Fall Family Fest. I don't think everyone realizes how much extensive work goes into the planning of it beforehand. Mrs. Costain, thank you so much, and I'm sure you can tell us and speak to all of that as well. Congratulations to Mr. DePrima on winning the pumpkin pie eating contest, if that wasn't covered. But I also just like to, it was just a very special event, and it really brought the community together, and I think it really shows, how special the community Old Bridge is. And lastly, I just want to acknowledge Mrs. Abrascato again for 26 years of dedicated service, and I want to thank her for all the students whose lives she's touched and impacted along the way.
Thank you, Mr. Dinoff. Ms. Lent.
I always feel so bad. By the time it gets down to this side of the table, you guys have covered everything. I couldn't even say congrats to Sal because he stole it from me. So I just want to say good night, everyone. I have nothing else to say. They said everything.
Thank you.
I will say, Ms. Lent, that because I know it's a cause that's near and dear to your heart, the animal shelter was there, and they brought 2 kittens, and both kittens were adopted that day.
Yes, we have to support our animal shelter, very important piece of the Old Bridge community. Thank you, and let's go to Mr. Reed.
I kind of agree with Ms. Lent. Hopefully next month, we'll be able to start down this end and have some information for you. I just appreciate all of my fellow board members. I think that we're starting out the year right. I know that the election is coming up. I want to make sure that everybody votes during the election. Please get yourself out and vote.
Mr. Dunn?
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Mr. Dunn? Can I just say
Yes.
one more thing?
Absolutely, Ms.
One
DeCaro.
thing I forgot to say. I just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Kyler for that fantastic translation. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you. That was great.
I have
Thank
one
you
more.
Yes,
I
Ms.
have-
Callie.
Sorry. I have one more thing, because I checked the calendar, and although we have an agenda session, the next time we're in this room, Mr. DePrima will be a father-in-law, so the ATO, yes. The meeting's on the 20th. Yep.
Congratulations, Mr.
He's
DePrima.
shaking his head. Your
Okay.
daughter's getting married on the 18th, just in case
We're
you...
sharing all these family secrets here. Okay. Yes.
Not mine.
You may be able to devour 2 or 3 pies, right? Oh. Okay, so moving forward again, I don't want to echo everything that's been said, but obviously, the district is doing wonderful things, and Family Fall Fest was an incredible family gathering at the GNC, and I want to just thank everyone that was involved, not only Ms. Costain, but the entire administration. The Buildings and Grounds Department did a fantastic job with making sure the building and the grounds were taken care of. Obviously, we had the building open for the bathrooms use, and it just worked out wonderfully. Also, Pink Out on Friday night. Friday, October 12th was an incredible experience. If you were able to attend, you saw the community outpouring of support for cancer awareness. It was an incredible evening. 5,000 plus people at Lombardi Field. And this is what it's all about, community, pride. That's why it's important that our sports teams, our performing arts teams do so well, and it brings out the best in this community. So that was an incredible evening. Also, as many of us may know, the Old Bridge High School Marching Knights will be in Hawaii on December 3rd through the 9th, performing at Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. It's a very special privilege, and it just proves that our performing arts program is excelling, and it's going to be an incredible experience for our young men and women who are going to spend those 7 days in Hawaii celebrating and remembering the bombing of Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. So I just wanted to mention that. Also, quickly, November 6th is Election Day. There will be school board elections as well that day. And also, it's going to be a general election for other offices. So please go out and vote. So that's important. And one last thing about the attendance policy, and I don't want to open it up again for discussion, but the fact is this district needs to be in compliance with state regulations. And based upon our due diligence and our proactive nature, we're making sure that we are aligning ourselves with the mandated policies, because if we don't adhere to those policies, then we can be sanctioned, and then we can be out of compliance, which would adversely affect our district. So I want to commend Chris Parton and his firm and our administration, Mr. Cedadino and Dr. Hoker, ensuring that our policy is thorough and correct. I know that there's some concern out there with the policy, and the board, understands the concern. However, we will do everything in our power to listen to our important parents and community regarding the concerns, and we'll do everything in our power to make it as palatable as necessary. And like everyone has said, we have the appeals process, and extraordinary issues will always be considered, and we would definitely consider that avenue to deal with some of the concerns. But please feel free to speak with us afterwards, and we can give you more information. With that said, I don't think we're going into executive session tonight, so I'm going to ask for, one more thing. I'm going to turn it over to David Cedadino for one other comment. David?
I thank Dr. Cascone for reminding me that we kind of went through it through miscellaneous without actually having a discussion on it. And there was a new item on miscellaneous, item number 6. It was the amendment of the 2018-19 budget, calendar. Move the board to amend the 2018-19 school calendar to reflect that Election Day, Tuesday, November 6, 2018, is an early dismissal instructional day for Jonas Salk School students. That day will be a full day at Jonas Salk School for staff in alignment with their peers across the district. This is, as you recall, Jonas Salk School missed 2 days of instruction due to the mold concern at the beginning of the year. By state code, they must go to school for 180 days. We do 181 days here in Old Bridge. So the students and staff with board support would be forgiven for the 181st day, but must by code make up that 180th day. An early dismissal day still counts as a full day. So that day will allow the students to come in the morning for the early dismissal on Tuesday, November the 6th, and then the staff will have in-service in the afternoon after the contracted lunch break. The only thing that I want to add there is that one of the reasons we don't have schools open on election days because of polling. Jonas Salk School is not a polling place, so it does not harbor the same safety concerns other schools may have. So that worked out well. So spread the word. We'll send out real-time alerts to everyone in the Salk community, but the 6th will be a school day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cedadino. With that, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Callie, move.
Thank you. Second?
DeCaro, second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Very well. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.